Dear beloved child, there are seasons in your life when everything around you seems to become nothing but a wilderness. You walk with weary feet, carrying questions that still have no answers, and your heart feels heavy because you think you are being left behind. There are nights when you look up to heaven and hear only silence. You pray, yet you do not hear an answer. You try to be strong, but deep within, you feel as though the waters of hope are slowly running dry. And in those moments, you begin to wonder whether I still see you. But my beloved child, I have never taken my eyes off you, not even for a single second. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted. As Psalm 34:18 says, I am closest to you in the very moments when you feel most alone. Remember Hagar in the wilderness. People often remember only the great figures, but I want you to look at that woman, someone who was pushed out of what was familiar, holding her young child as she walked through a dry and barren land with eyes full of despair. When the water was gone, she placed the child under a bush and turned away because she did not have the strength to watch her son die of thirst. In that moment, she thought all hope had come to an end. But then I opened her eyes to see a well of water very near her. My beloved child, that well had not just appeared. It had already been there. It was only pain and fear that had left her unable to see it. And many times in your life, it is the same. You think I have prepared nothing for you simply because you have not yet seen it. But I am still quietly keeping a source of water ready for your soul in the middle of the wilderness. There are doors that close and make you think you have been rejected. But in truth, I am protecting you from what was never meant for you. There are people who walk away and leave your heart broken. But I know they cannot go with you into the new season I am preparing. There are times when you are misunderstood, even though you have lived sincerely, treated coldly, even though you have loved with all your heart. And it makes you want to withdraw, to hide your light so that you will not be hurt again. But my beloved child, I did not light you so that you would shrink back and live in darkness. You are the light of the world. As Matthew 5:14 says, light was not created to compete or to seek attention. Light exists to guide lost souls back to hope. I know there are days when you feel so exhausted that you only want to give up. There are mornings when you wake with a heart as heavy as stone. There are prayers you have repeated for so long that even you have begun to fear hoping again. But child, do not measure my presence by your present emotions. The sun does not disappear simply because dark clouds cover it, and I do not disappear simply because you cannot feel me as clearly as before. Some of the deepest works I do in your life take place in silence. A seed beneath the soil makes no sound as it takes root. But within that silence, life is being prepared for the season of blooming ahead. My beloved child, do not fear seasons of refinement. Gold does not become pure without passing through fire. A tree does not stand firm without having endured strong winds. And a soul cannot mature deeply without learning to trust me in days when it does not understand everything. I do not allow you to pass through storms in order to destroy you. I use them to teach you that true peace does not depend on outward circumstances. True peace is knowing that even in the middle of the battle, I am still holding your hand. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you, not as the world gives. As John 14:27 says, there are people who know peace only when everything is going well. But I am teaching you a deeper kind of peace, a peace that remains even when the sky is still filled with dark clouds. A peace that keeps you walking forward even when you cannot yet see the whole path. A peace that allows you to remain gentle even after you have been wounded. A peace that keeps you praying even when the answer has not yet arrived. And my beloved child, it is through these very things that your soul is growing stronger than you realize. So today, lift up your head instead of bowing down in fear. Let your heart rest quietly in my hands. Do not run away from difficult seasons, Because after the rain, the earth blooms in ways it never could before. I am leading you through every valley, not so that you will sink beneath it, but so that you may discover that my grace is sufficient for every season of your life. And one day, you will look back on this tear-filled journey and realize this truth. No dark night was meaningless. No prayer was forgotten. And not a single moment passed in which I stopped loving you. In the very things you once thought would destroy you, I was quietly shaping a soul that is deeper, gentler, and filled with more light than ever before. My beloved child, I never created you to live in panic and confusion. When I call you to walk through the battles of your life, I do not ask you to struggle in fear or rely on your own strength against the darkness. I call you to stand firm in my presence, like an ancient tree whose roots remain deep, even while storms rage around it. There are battles that are not won through the shouting of anxiety, but through a soul that knows how to rest in the power of the Most High. For the enemy of your soul always seeks to plant panic within your mind, because he knows that when the human heart is filled with unrest, it begins to doubt me, doubt itself, and unknowingly open the door for darkness to enter. But child, when you keep your spirit calm in the midst of adversity, you are closing those doors and declaring that I am still king over every storm. Be still, and know that I am God. As Psalm 46:10 says, this is not merely a word of comfort, it is a key to spiritual victory. I know there have been many times when you thought you constantly had to do something in order to prove your faith. You believed that if you did not struggle hard enough or fight fiercely enough, it meant you were weak. But my beloved child, there are moments when the deepest faith is revealed through complete rest in me. When the sea grew violent and the waves crashed against the boat, the disciples trembled because they thought everything was about to end. Yet Jesus remained asleep in the middle of the storm. He did not sleep because he was indifferent to danger, but because he knew the supreme authority of the Father still covered the ocean. Then he rose and spoke to the wind, saying, "Peace, be still." As written in Mark 4:9-36, my child, I also want your soul to learn how to rest in the middle of storms in the same way. Not because you deny reality, but because you know that the one who holds you is greater than whatever rises against you. There is a story that few people truly reflect upon deeply enough, the story of King Jehoshaphat when an innumerable army came against Judah. To human eyes, it was a battle that could not possibly be won. Yet instead of panicking or rushing into battle by his own strength, he turned to seek me, and I spoke to the people, saying, "The battle is not yours, but God's." As written in 2 Chronicles 20:15, what is remarkable is that I did not command them to advance first with swords and weapons, but to go forward with praise upon their lips. While they worshipped and kept their trust in me, I caused the enemy armies to destroy one another. Do you see? My child, many of the greatest victories do not come through your desperate striving, but when you trust deeply enough to allow me to fight for you. So today, do not allow your soul to be pulled into the whirlwind of anger and fear. The enemy delights in making you react impulsively, because a troubled mind is easily led astray. When you are consumed by anger, you can no longer hear my voice clearly. When you are drowning in anxiety, your eyes will see only the crashing waves and forget that my hand is still holding the boat of your life. But when you enter into my peace, something sacred begins to happen. You are no longer controlled by circumstances. Words of attack lose their power. Arrows of doubt can no longer pierce your heart. You begin to see everything from the position of faith rather than from fear. Remember that peace is not a sign of weakness, but the weapon of mature souls. The world believes strength means always reacting, always proving yourself, always winning by having the louder voice. But true strength is when you can stand in the middle of chaos while your heart remains anchored in me. Like Daniel entering the lion's den without allowing terror to devour his faith, the lions were still there. The darkness still surrounded him, but his heart rested in me, and fear could not rule his soul. And I sent my angel to shut the mouths of the lions. You will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on you. As Isaiah 26:3 declares, my beloved child, that peace does not come from favorable circumstances, but from a heart firmly anchored in me. I know there are nights when you lie awake worrying about the future. There are moments when your thoughts spin endlessly around countless unknowns. You try to find answers for everything, trying to control things that are beyond your reach. And in the end, that very struggle leaves your soul exhausted. But today, I want you to lay down that burden, not because your problems are small, but because your shoulders were never created to carry the whole world. Only I am great enough to hold all things together without letting them collapse. When you hand your worries over to me, you are not abandoning responsibility. You are placing into the right hands what belonged to me from the very beginning. Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. As written in 1 Peter 5:7, then you will begin to realize that spiritual rest does not make you passive, it makes you stronger. A soul resting in me will see more clearly, hear more clearly, and walk more steadily. You will no longer be led by temporary emotions, but guided by wisdom from heaven. Your decisions will no longer rise out of panic, but out of trust. Your words will no longer flow from bitterness, but from gentleness refined through my love. Therefore, my beloved child, when the next storm comes, do not forget this. You are not fighting alone. I have never left you in the middle of the battle. When you stand still in peace, all of heaven knows that your heart is resting in me and not in your circumstances. And it is within that very rest that my power is revealed most strongly. The Lord will fight for you, and you shall hold your peace. As Exodus 14:14 says, let that verse become the breath of your soul today. For there is no darkness great enough to consume the one who is covered by my peace. My beloved child, I never promised that your journey would be free from thunder or seasons of deep darkness. I know there will be times when you hear the winds of adversity howling through your soul, when words of doubt surround your mind like waves trying to drown you in weariness. But what I want you to engrave deeply within your heart is this: the storm has no authority to determine the destiny of one who is rooted in me. A young tree may be easily shaken down by strong winds, but a tree whose roots run deep into the earth grows even stronger through every storm. So it is with you. Every day you seek me. Every time you choose prayer instead of despair. Every moment you decide to trust instead of giving up. All of these are causing the roots of your soul to cling more deeply to eternal life. For he shall be like a tree planted by the waters, which spreads out its roots by the river, and will not fear when heat comes. As written in Jeremiah 17:8, you do not stand firm by your own strength, but by the living water of the Holy Spirit, quietly sustaining you even through your driest days. There are miracles I do not perform with thunderous signs, but through quiet changes in things that seem ordinary. When you learn how to rest in the middle of battle, you will begin to see my hand in even the smallest details. Doors that once seemed tightly shut will suddenly open at the appointed time. Words of accusation that once wounded you deeply will slowly lose their power. There are people who once misunderstood you who will eventually come to recognize the truth without you needing to defend yourself. For when I rise to defend you, you no longer need to exhaust your soul arguing with darkness. Like the people of Israel standing before the Red Sea, they believed there was destruction behind them and no way forward ahead. Yet in the very place where there seemed to be no path, I parted the sea and made a road through it. The Lord will fight for you. As Exodus 5:13 declares, my beloved child, there are battles you win not by rushing to fight back, but by standing still and watching my power move on your behalf. I know there will be times when your heart aches because of the coldness of others. There are words that may seem small yet cut deeply into your soul like invisible blades. There are days when you want to explain everything so people will understand you, when you want to defend yourself in order to protect your honor. But I am teaching you a higher way, not the way of weakness, but the way of a soul matured through love. You will learn how to love without demanding immediate return. You will learn how to keep walking even when no one applauds you. You will learn how to protect your light even when others see you only through the darkness within themselves. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. As written in Romans 12:21, this is the kind of victory the world struggles to understand. Yet it is the kind of victory that shakes both heaven and hell. Remember David when King Saul pursued him. David had many opportunities to take revenge. There was even a moment when Saul lay vulnerable before him inside a cave. By human reasoning, it was the perfect opportunity to end the pursuit and reclaim justice for himself. But David did not choose the path of vengeance. He did not allow anger to guide his hand. He understood that if I had chosen him, then I was also powerful enough to protect him without requiring him to stain his soul with bitterness. It was that gentleness that kept David's heart from becoming like the heart of the one who was hurting him. My child, this is also what I want to teach you today. Do not allow the wrongs of others to transform you into someone who loses the light within. Your true battle is not about defeating someone with sharper words. It is the battle to keep your heart from becoming hardened in the midst of pain. It is the battle to remain gentle in a world that celebrates harshness. It is the battle to continue believing in love even after you have been betrayed. The enemy desperately wants to turn your pain into poison within your soul. He wants you to react in anger so that the light inside you becomes clouded. But I'm teaching you to wield a different weapon, gentleness born from faith. For there is great strength in a soul that still knows how to love after being wounded. There is sacred power in a heart that remains soft in the middle of a cold and hardened world. I am not saying that this is easy. Even Jesus wept, was betrayed, mocked, and rejected. Yet, in the midst of all that suffering, he still said, Father, forgive them. As written in Luke 23:34, that was not the surrender of weakness, but the triumph of a love stronger than hatred. When you choose forgiveness instead of clinging to bitterness, you are breaking the chains that darkness longs to place upon your soul. Perhaps today you still do not understand why I allowed certain people to enter your life, only to leave deep wounds within your heart. But the day will come when you look back and realize that those very collisions made you stronger, deeper, and more like me. The people who opposed you may have unknowingly become instruments I used to refine your soul. Just as iron is sharpened into a sword, without trials, you would never know how strong your faith truly is. Without darkness, you would never fully understand the preciousness of light. So today, my beloved child, continue walking forward with peace in your heart. Do not waste your life chasing after the need for everyone to fully understand you. I understand you. Do not lose your gentleness simply because the world has treated you harshly. I am using that very gentleness to heal the souls around you. And do not fear when you feel small in the middle of great battles, for my power is made perfect in weakness. As written in 2 Corinthians 12:9, you do not need to shout in order to prove your light. Simply continue to shine. For true light does not need to argue with darkness in order to prove its existence. It only needs to be present, and the darkness will naturally retreat. My beloved child, many times you look at those who oppose you as walls blocking your path. as hands trying to pull you away from the light I have placed within your life. You wonder why I do not remove them, why I allow harsh words to wound your heart again and again. But child, what your eyes call an obstacle is often the very tool I am using to shape a mature soul within you. A blacksmith does not hate the iron when he places it into the fire. He sees the sword being formed within the heat. In the same way, I do not allow you to walk through trials because I desire your pain, but because I already see the more beautiful image your soul will carry after seasons of refinement. Remember Joseph, who was betrayed by his own brothers. They threw him into a deep pit, sold him like merchandise, and believed they had erased his name from the dream of their lives. Later, he was falsely accused and forgotten in prison for many long years. To naturalize, everything that happened seemed like injustice upon injustice. But my beloved child, the very people who wounded Joseph unknowingly became the hands that pushed him toward the place I had already prepared for him. Without that pit, he would never have gone to Egypt. Out that prison, he would never have met the one who would open the door to his destiny. And one day, standing before his brothers, Joseph was able to say, "You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good." As written in Genesis 50:20. Do you see, child, the very things the world intends to use to destroy you, I can transform into bridges that lead you closer to heaven's purpose for your life. There are souls who know how to love only when love is returned to them. There are hearts that remain gentle only when everything is favorable. But I am teaching you a deeper kind of love, a love that does not depend on how others treat you. When you continue praying for those who speak against you, when you keep your heart soft toward those who misunderstand you, you are reflecting my very heart. Love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. As written in Matthew 5:44. This is not a teaching meant for the weak, but for souls strong enough not to let darkness determine the way they love. I know there are times when you want to resist, to explain yourself, to prove that you are not wrong. There are nights when your heart aches because the words of others continue echoing in your mind. But child, if you spend your life seeking approval from the world, your soul will remain exhausted. I am leading you to a place where your worth no longer depends on human opinion, but is anchored in my unchanging love. When you truly understand that you are fully known by me and still deeply loved, you will no longer be shaken by every passing judgment. Look at the olive tree upon the rocky hill. It is the strong winds that force its roots to grow deeper into the earth. If the weather were always calm, the roots would remain shallow and weak. So it is with you. The trials you endure are causing your faith to cling more deeply to me. Every time you choose forgiveness instead of bitterness, the roots of your soul grow deeper. Every time you choose peace instead of revenge, I widen your heart a little more so that it can carry greater light. Tribulation produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character. Hope, as written in Romans 5, dry fear. There is no pain I allow to pass through your life that does not carry within it the seed of growth. There is a story that few people often mention, but I want you to hold on to it today. It is the story of Abigail, the wise woman whose husband was Nabal, a harsh and arrogant man. When David became angry because he had been insulted and was preparing to bring his men to take revenge, Abigail chose to step forward with gentleness and wisdom instead of confronting anger with more anger. Her tenderness prevented great bloodshed from taking place. Do you see, child? True strength is not always found in the loudest voice or the fiercest reaction. There are spiritual victories that come only through humility and gentleness guided by me. So today, do not curse your difficult seasons. Do not think that the people who wounded you have ruined my plan for your life. They do not have enough power to do that. What they intended to use to break you down, I will use to build depth within your soul. They thought they were making you weaker. But in truth, I am making you stronger, according to heaven's definition of strength, not hardened through numbness, but tender and still unbroken. My beloved child, the day will come when you look back on everything and give thanks even for those who once made you cry. Not because what they did was right, but because I am powerful enough to use even what was wrong to create something beautiful within you. The words they spoke will become lessons that make you wiser. The wounds they caused will teach you to empathize more deeply with others. The times you were rejected will teach you to seek your worth in me instead of in the world. So instead of holding resentment in your heart, let gratitude rise in the middle of the trial. For even now, I am still working in all things. I am turning pressure into fresh anointing upon your soul. I am turning tears into rivers that water the dry places within your heart. I am using those very painful collisions to refine you into the person I saw from the beginning. We know that all things work together for good to those who love God. As Romans 8:28 declares, let that word become the rock beneath your feet today. And my beloved child, as you continue walking in love instead of bitterness, in peace instead of anger, in trust instead of fear, you will realize something wondrous. No one can truly stop what I have ordained for your life. For my hand is greater than every opposition, and my love for you is deeper than any wound the world has ever caused. My beloved child, when your eyes are still covered by pain, it is easy to see those who have hurt you as enemies, trying to destroy your life. But if you allow me to open the eyes of your soul, you will begin to see them in a different way. You will realize that they do not stand outside my sovereign rule. They may think they are controlling the situation, but I am the one who holds the balance of all things. A blacksmith may use fire to refine metal, but the fire is never allowed to go beyond the measure the blacksmith has set. In the same way, the trials around you are never outside my hand. I know exactly how much pressure your soul needs in order to mature without breaking, how much pain it can endure in order to learn deeper love without losing the light within. He will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver. As written in Malachi 3:3, I have never taken my eyes off you in that process, not even for a moment. Do not think that every hardship that comes to you is a sign of punishment. There are seasons when I allow you to pass through fire, not because I am angry, but because I am training your soul for something greater. A soldier does not learn endurance in comfort. A great tree does not grow inside a greenhouse sheltered from the wind, and true faith is not formed in a life without trials. I am teaching you to walk as a child of light in the middle of a chaotic world, so that when others know only how to react with bitterness, you still remain gentle. When others are swept away by anger, you still carry peace. For true victory is not found in making someone else fall, but in the fact that darkness cannot pull your heart away from my love. Remember Stephen, who was stoned in the midst of a crowd filled with hatred. In his most painful hour, he did not curse those who were killing him. Instead, he lifted his eyes toward heaven and asked me to forgive them. That is beyond natural human strength. Only love from heaven can cause a soul to choose forgiveness in the very middle of suffering. And my beloved child, I am teaching you that same strength. When you choose love instead of nurturing resentment, you are reflecting the very nature of heaven. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. As Romans 12:21 declares, that is the kind of victory darkness cannot understand. There will be days when everything around you feels as though it is falling apart. The things you once trusted begin to shake. Doors that once seemed open suddenly close again. The people you love may walk away or turn their backs on you. But my beloved child, do not confuse destruction with rebuilding. A builder must tear down weakened walls before a stronger house can be raised. I am doing the same within your life. There are things I remove not to leave you empty-handed, but to teach you to hold tightly to what can never be taken away, my presence itself. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away, as written in Matthew 24:35. When temporary things are shaken, I am drawing you closer to what is eternal. I know there are times when you try to understand everything through your own reasoning, and it leaves you exhausted. You look at the scattered pieces of your life and cannot understand why things are unfolding this way. You ask why one pain follows another, why the road before you seems covered in so much fog. But my beloved child, your understanding is like someone standing too close to a great painting, able to see only a few disconnected strokes of color. I, however, see the entire masterpiece from beginning to end. What you call chaos today, I see as threads being woven perfectly into place to complete a beautiful tapestry. My thoughts are not your thoughts. Neither are your ways my ways. As written in Isaiah 55:8, this does not mean I want you to live in confusion, but that I want you to learn how to trust even when you cannot yet see the whole picture. There is a story that many people overlook, but I want you to reflect upon it today. It is the story of the potter and the marred vessel Jeremiah saw in the potter's hands. When the vessel became spoiled while it was being shaped, the potter did not throw the clay away. Instead, he used that same clay to form another vessel, more beautiful according to his design. So it is with you. Perhaps you feel your life has been misshapen by wounds, disappointments, and misunderstandings. But in my hands, no part of your life is useless. I can use even what seems broken to create someone deeper, gentler, and more reflective of my image. What matters is not that you were never cracked, but that you remain in the potter's hands. So today, do not fear the pressures coming upon your life. Do not panic when you hear the storm raging around you. If I allow trials to touch you, it also means I have already set their limits. Satan desired to sift Peter like wheat, but I prayed that his faith would not fail. And after he returned, Peter became stronger than before. My beloved child, there are shakings that are not meant to destroy you, but to cause everything not rooted in me to fall away. Therefore, rest in this truth today. I am in control, even of the things you cannot yet understand. Not one of your tears falls unseen by me. Not one word of attack passes beyond the boundaries I allow. No trial is meaningless. I am using all of it to deepen the roots of your soul within my unchanging love. And as you continue walking in peace, forgiveness, and trust, you will slowly begin to realize that the greatest thing I am building is not the circumstances around you, but your very heart. For a soul anchored in me will not be swept away, even if the whole world trembles around it. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Psalm 91:1 declares. Let that word become the resting place for your soul today. My beloved child, there are seasons when you lift your eyes toward heaven and encounter only silence. You pray, yet it seems no answer comes. You search for signs, but everything around you feels like an endless haze. And then your heart begins to wonder whether I am still listening. But child, my silence has never been a sign of abandonment. A farmer plants seeds into the ground and waits with patience, because he knows that beneath the dark soil, life is quietly forming. In the same way, there are prayers of yours that are taking root in the unseen realm, even though your eyes cannot yet perceive anything. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, though it tarries. Wait for it, because it will surely come. As written in Habakkuk Cox, Colme, what I have promised never dies in silence. It is growing within the timing I have appointed. You often think I move most powerfully when the heavens shake and miracles explode before your eyes. But many times, I do my deepest work within the quiet places. When Elijah hid in the cave, he heard the great wind, the earthquake, and the fire. Yet I was not in those things. Then after all of them came a still, small voice, and there Elijah recognized my presence. My beloved child, I am teaching you to discern between the noise of the world and the voice of the Spirit. There are things I must remove from your life, doors I must close, and seasons of loneliness I must allow. Because if your surroundings are always filled with chaos and noise, you will no longer hear my voice clearly. Silence is not an empty void. It is the place where I realign the compass of your soul so that it points once again toward heaven. I know there are times when you are deeply wounded by what others do to you. There are accusations that pierce your heart like arrows. There are cold looks that make you wonder how human hearts can become so harsh. But remember this, no darkness is hidden from my sight. The eyes of the Lord are in every place. As written in Proverbs 5, dry. I see what happens in secret. I know every scheme woven in darkness. And I am a righteous God who will not allow wickedness to remain hidden forever without being brought into the light. But child, when the truth is revealed, I do not want your heart to become hardened with satisfaction at another person's downfall. I do not want you to rejoice over the collapse of others, no matter how deeply they may have hurt you. For you also were once someone in need of grace. You too have been weak, lost, and in need of forgiveness more than you realized. If I opened my arms to you in the darkest days of your soul, then now I desire for that same mercy to reach those who are walking in error through you. Love your enemies. Bless those who curse you. As written in Matthew 5:44, it is the hardest path to walk, yet it is also the path that makes you most like me. Remember Stephen, who was stoned while the crowd shouted against him. As blood and dust covered his body, he still lifted his eyes toward heaven and prayed, Lord, do not charge them with this sin. That prayer, filled with love, echoed through time and touched the soul of Saul, the one who would later become Paul, one of the mightiest apostles of the faith. Do you see, child, sometimes the intercession of the wounded becomes the very doorway of salvation for those who once stood against them. My beloved child, when you pray for those who hurt you, you are not only freeing your own heart from bitterness, but also partnering with me in the redemption of lost souls. I do not rejoice when human beings walk toward destruction. My heart grieves when I see souls chained by pride, anger, and deception. That is why I call you not to nurture revenge within your heart. Revenge allows darkness to begin taking root inside you, but forgiveness preserves the light within your soul from being extinguished. This does not mean you call evil good, nor does it mean you must continue allowing yourself to be trampled endlessly. Forgiveness means placing judgment back into my hands and refusing to let hatred rule your heart. Perhaps today you do not yet realize it, but even in the middle of this season of refinement, I am enlarging your heart in ways that peaceful days never could. I am stretching your capacity to love. I am making your soul deeper, softer, and more like me. True love is not proven only when everything is easy. True love is revealed when you still choose gentleness in the face of rejection, still choose intercession in the midst of misunderstanding, and still keep your heart tender in a world filled with thorns. Love suffers long and is kind. As written in 1 Corinthians 13:4, this is not a weak kind of love, but a strength that comes from heaven itself. There is a story that few people pay attention to, yet I want you to remember it today. The story of Hosea. I told him to love an unfaithful wife, someone who would leave him again and again. It was deeply painful. Yet through that story I revealed, my own heart toward humanity. Even when people continually turn away from me, I still call them back. Even when they are unfaithful, my love still pursues them. My beloved child, when I teach you to love even those who are difficult to love, I am not merely testing you, I am allowing you to touch one of the deepest parts of my own heart. So today, do not fear the silence of this present season. Do not think I have forgotten you simply because heaven has not answered immediately. I am working within what your eyes cannot yet see. I am preparing things that, if they came too soon, you would not yet be mature enough to carry. And while you wait, I am performing the greatest miracle of all, transforming your heart to become more like mine. A soul that knows how to love through pain, pray through misunderstanding, and forgive through betrayal is a soul that darkness cannot defeat. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. As written in Matthew 5:9, let that word become the light that guides you through this season of refinement. My beloved child, do not rush to escape the seasons in which I allow fire to touch your soul. I know your human instinct always seeks comfort and longs to avoid the things that make your heart ache. But there are depths of love that can only be opened in the furnace of endurance. Gold cannot reflect light until it has passed through fire. And your soul cannot fully understand my love until it has walked through days that seem beyond your strength. I do not lead you into such places to exhaust you, but to strip away the layers of fear, selfishness, and self-protection that have long surrounded your heart. I am teaching you to love in the way of heaven, not only when love is returned, not only to remain gentle when everything is favorable, but to keep your heart tender, even in pain. Greater love has no one than this, than to lay down one's life for one's friends. As written in John 15:13, true love always carries sacrifice within it. And it is through that sacrifice that you will understand me more deeply than through any sermon or spoken word. There are nights when all you can do is sit in silence, without strength left for long prayers, without words sufficient to express the weariness within you. But my beloved child, even when your lips can say nothing, your heart is still crying out to me, and I hear every sigh. I see the silent battles no one else knows about. I see the moments when you bite your lip to keep yourself from weeping in front of others. I see the fears you hide behind your calm appearance. But remember this, the darkness around you is not always a sign that I am absent. Many times, I use that very night like a cloak to shield you from things you are not yet strong enough to face. Remember the people of Israel when I led them out of Egypt. By day I guided them with a pillar of cloud, and by night with a pillar of fire, even in the darkest nights of the wilderness. The sign of my presence was still there. In the same way, my beloved child, there are times when you do not realize that I am moving. But that does not mean I have stopped protecting you. There are countless things I have prevented before they ever reached your life. There are doors I quietly closed to spare you from greater pain. There are words meant to shatter your soul, yet I caused them to lose their power. He shall cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you shall take refuge. As written in Psalm 91:4, those with you, not for a single day. My beloved child, this world is filled with voices that distract your soul. The voice of anxiety, the voice of pressure, the voice of comparison and judgment. They speak constantly until you begin to forget the rhythm of peace that comes from me. But even when you can no longer hear my voice clearly, I am still very near, like a father sitting beside the bed of his feverish child throughout the night. Even while the child drifts in and out of awareness and does not realize the father is still there. So it is with me. There are seasons when you cannot clearly feel my presence. Yet I have never left your side. He shall give his angels charge over you, to keep you in all your ways. As Psalm 91 once declares, This is not an empty symbolic image. Heaven is truly moving around your life far more than you realize. There have been times when you escaped danger without understanding why. There have been sudden instincts that caused you to stop at exactly the right moment. There have been moments when your soul was kept from collapsing, even under unbearable pressure. My beloved child, these things are not accidents. My heavenly hosts are still guarding you in the unseen realm. There is a story that few people reflect upon deeply enough, the story of Elisha and his servant when enemy armies surrounded the city. The servant was terrified because all he could see were horses and soldiers of the enemy covering the land around them. But Elisha prayed that the servant's eyes would be opened. And when his spiritual eyes were enlightened, he saw the mountain filled with horses and chariots of fire, with the armies of heaven surrounding them. My beloved child, many times you are like that servant. You see only what is standing against you and forget what is standing guard around you. But the truth remains. Those who are with us are more than those who are with them. As written in King Zechariah. So do not allow fear to pull you away from the very place where I am refining your soul. Do not run from the seasons that teach you patience, forgiveness, and deeper love. It is in those very places that I am enlarging your heart to carry greater light. I am teaching you to love through action and not merely through passing emotion. I am teaching you to stand firm in pain and still be able to say, Father, I trust that you are still good, and my beloved child. That confession echoes through heaven more powerfully than you realize. I know there are moments when you feel weak, but never forget that true strength is not found in never trembling with fear, but in continuing to trust even while trembling. When you keep walking forward, though, tears still rest upon your cheeks. When you continue praying, though your heart is still filled with questions. When you choose not to let go of my hand, though everything around you feels chaotic, that is, when your faith becomes more precious than refined gold. After you have suffered a little while, the God of all grace will himself perfect, establish, strengthen, and settle you. As written in Peter 5, Zane. So today, rest peacefully within,